as always, thank you once again for downloading SuppTalk Radio. Before we start, I want to give a quick shout out to my previous guests this month, Edge Fitness Performance, Get Strong as Fuck Supplements, and Extreme Life Performance. Again, if you want to hear back from them, please let me know. We'd be happy to bring them back on, answer any questions that you folks still might have. My guest is a men's physique competitor and successful entrepreneur in the supplement industry. As always, we'll dive into the mind of this evil genius or just plain madman. We'll also see if we can get a Super Bowl prediction, as I'm up here in Boston and I believe he's over in California. Allow me to introduce Derek, also known as Zoo, the Bloodlord of Vicious Labs. Zoo, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sean. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. As I mentioned, so you're in California, correct?
Yeah, I'm actually not that far away from Venice, probably an hour to an hour and a half, depending on traffic.
Are you a football fan?
Honestly, I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but I really don't follow football at all.
All right, so just on a random win, do you want to throw, since obviously the Rams are in your home state, do you want to go ahead and throw a quick prediction down and we can kind of laugh about this or see how close you are?
Shoot, I guess I'll have to go local and pick the Rams then. Just, stay loyal to, California here.
Throw me a score, my man. Just throw something weird out there.
Shoot, 32-14.
Wow, okay. So I'm up here in Boston, obviously, and I can't stand the Patriots. I moved up here years ago. I hate to say it, I think the Patriots going to win. I'm going to personally say 35-28. I would love the Rams to win, finally somebody different. But I think everything's in the Patriots' favor. But again, we'll shelve that and we'll laugh in a week and see how close or how far off we are.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a neat little underdog story here.
So, give me some history on the company and obviously how long you guys are in existence, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, actually, I kind of started Vicious Labs unofficially around 2014. I created as basically a pro-hormone type company through one of the forums that I was on. Called prohormoneforum.com. I was a rep on there, and I kind of used that as an opportunity to sell a little bit in the classifieds to make some extra money. I honestly always had a little bit of interest in brand development type things. I really enjoy designing logos, things of that nature. So I kind of just combined that interest with maybe a possible financial opportunity. Eventually, I was able to get sales that kind of exceeded what would be okay not to tax. So I had actually filed the company as a business, and I did that in 2016. It's been a kind of a slow process in how we're growing. I really want to do this more organically than through heavy marketing. I just kind of want word of mouth and just the quality of the products to get the brand's recognition. And it's evolved over time. It was a little more niche originally, but I kind of brought in the image so that way it would appeal to a more mainstream audience.
Gotcha. So I know we'll go into your product line in a little bit, and I know you still have some kind of, I don't know if I should use the word pro-hormones, because I know that's kind of a very weird term in today's market, but when you first came out to now, I'm assuming you probably had to reformulate a lot of things?
Oh, man, I pretty much had to start from scratch because it's funny, my two original products, I don't know if you remember Epistane and Haladrol.
Sure.
Two of the most popular pro hormones. Probably within like 2 months of me having purchased that, the pro hormone update ban, it kicked in. So I was scrambling to sell all this extra inventory that I had sitting around. Honestly, I don't even think I made any money on it because I just had to kind of fire sell everything before it became illegal. And then after that, I had to start looking into, alternatives. For example, like I dipped into the andros and Dark Carnival, which is my Epiandro product. That's something that's kind of stuck around since the beginning. And then I would formulate, other things such as ancillaries like a Tudka product, also like Arimistane, the original product being dry spell. The updated version is Necropolis, which is a lot more comprehensive of a support product.
So now, are a lot of people still buying the pro hormones, or are they kind of stacking up, or are people, because I guess there's two schools of thought, and I'm on the fence myself. Did some people say, you know what, I don't even want to try this stuff because sooner or later the FDA is going to start knocking, and why even waste my time? And you've got the other people that saying, shit, I'm going to ride the wave until the FDA comes knocking.
No, I'm taking preventative measures. So I'm kind of eliminating the actual designer prohormones. I'll keep epiandro because it's a DHEA type precursor, if you will, not so much like the prohormone in the sense of what is essentially an anabolic steroid.
Gotcha.
So I'll keep the epiandro, but I'm basically going to eliminate products such as dimethazine, LMG, and methylstembolone. Those products are actually very, very still popular. I constantly get hit up. People insist that I must be hiding extras in my, closet somewhere, but I'm completely sold out of that, and I'm down to just a few bottles of LMG. And once those are gone, I'll be out of the designers. Fortunately, epiandro, even though it's not a typical prohormone in the sense of, the epistanes and all of them, it's actually tremendously popular, and it's because I noticed that on the forums that a lot of guys would try to incorporate epiandro as part of or as their cycle. Problem is they need to purchase about 3 or 4 bottles to even get a decent 6-week run out of it. So I just kind of super dosed what's, normally put in an epiandro product and made each capsule 300 milligrams. So you can essentially get a full 4-week cycle with just one bottle and still get good results. You don't need to keep purchasing, 3 or 4 bottles just to kind of get by for a few weeks.
So this is a weird question. I don't want to put you in an awkward spot when it comes to a lot of the epis and the andros and the pro hormones and whatnot. Are enough people, in your opinion, and again, if it's a wrong question, to just please don't answer. But I want to put you on the spot here. I've learned, because I've done a lot of research on SARMs, so I know a lot about SARMs, not as much on the andro, but it seems that a lot of people, they jump into these products because you hear of the great gains, which is 3 pounds, 5 pounds, decrease in lean body mass, everything else, but they never seem to do the research on some of these. You do need some kind of PCT, whether it's an over-the-counter or it might be something a little bit more of a gray type PCT. I mean, do you think people are doing their education enough?
Honestly, I think it's kind of about 50-50 because I communicate with a lot of guys that like to run cycles through my forum directly. And they're in kind of part of the mantra of our forum is that we encourage everyone to do their research. Honestly, if people come in with like ridiculous questions, we're going to tell them, go Google this. You're not ready to even touch a prohormone. Based on some of the emails and questions I get, I can tell that a lot of people aren't doing the research. They don't really understand what anabolic type substances are capable of, in terms of gains or in side effects. I mean, one of the things that irritate me the most is probably when someone, emails me and says, how much gains can I get out of this? It's like, I think you're missing the point. If you're going to use this as your sole driver for making gains, you're not going to get anything out of it. I always encourage them to, understand the actual product itself. Some guys kind of come at me thinking DMZ is, some sort of like, natty test booster, like Tribulus or something. Sure. It's like I'm trying to explain to them this is a very serious type product. I even actually, when I had the product up on my site still, I even had it on there, if you do not know what dimethazine is, do not use it. If you are a competitive athlete and tested organization, do not use this. I mean, without being explicit, I'm kind of letting them know, I'm like, hey, this is what it is, and if you don't know what it is, don't be using it. This is not for you right now.
And I understand that fully, and I appreciate you saying that, because again, you're kind of doing your diligence. You're almost clearing your conscience, as I'll say. But one of my questions I always see on the forums as well is, okay, guys, I just spent $125 on XYZ, again, SARMs or hormones or andro. I only have a couple of dollars for a PCT. What should I buy? Can I get a $10 bottle of Tribulus, or can I get some DAA? And it's like, as I tell everybody, you need to incorporate it if you have a budget. Some people do, some people don't. If you have a budget, make sure you have a very good PCT involved in that damn budget.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it cannot be an afterthought. This is something that's part of your cycle, so it should be treated equally as the anabolics in the cycle itself. It's something that should be taken very seriously. If they want to actually make long-term gains, you're going to want to have a proper PCT lined up.
and let's look at the bigger picture too. Is like anything, what is your food intake and or diet, and what's your training regimen like? Some people think this is the magic drug, and I don't have to train harder, or I can go ahead and still have a slice of pizza or a piece of pizza every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's definitely something that's overlooked tremendously. A lot of people do regard anabolics as a type of miracle drug. Honestly, that was kind of my mentality up to a couple of years ago. Even within the last year, I've just kind of, nailed down my nutrition, and I'm making the most progress that I have despite using, less anabolics as part of my cycles. I'm getting better gains because the nutrition and the training, the quality of those two supersede anything that you can put into your body. And I think that's something that needs to be emphasized more. And when people do ask me about cycles, I always encourage them. I'm like, if you do not know what you're eating for the next week, like by memory, you should probably go crack down on your nutrition first before you run the cycle, because in the long run, you're not going to get very much out of it. I wasted a lot of time, probably a lot of health and money on drugs and just eating garbage, frankly, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's dive back into the company, and I appreciate you going down a different lane with me here. Where did the name Vicious Labs come up? Was that a one-off, or did you have a list of companies that you shared maybe with your wife or friends, or what'd you land on with that?
Yeah, it's funny. I am originally in college because I went through a business major, human resources specifically, but part of the classes, one of them asked for us to create like a concept company. And so from that, I kind of started dabbling with ideas. Like the first one was called Drone Industries. And then eventually I kind of started playing around with different ideas. And it's a lot of this ties into my previous interest, paintball. There was a team called Vicious, and I always thought they were pretty savage. They were very fierce on the field.
Sure.
They would, just murk the other teams within minutes. So I really like that team, and I like the word vicious. I think that's kind of, something that I like to attack my workouts viciously. I get in there, get intense, get serious. And then I know the labs thing is a little played out, but I kind of wanted to use where monsters are made, so I wanted to incorporate a laboratory sort of effect in there. So anyways, Vicious Labs, and that's kind of where the origin came about.
You know what? I have to give you credit because I'm going to agree to disagree here. Labs to a point is played out, and I'm not just saying this. I have the utmost respect for you of spelling it without a fucking Z, because everybody seems to spell it with Z's nowadays.
Thank you. I don't know why we can't start encouraging just proper English syntax. I don't know why we can't just encourage that as part of. I mean, I don't think it's cool. It's really not. So. I don't know.
Fun. So let's tackle a little bit of your product line here. I know it's pretty robust. We don't have to go over everything, but maybe we can go over 2 or 3 of your popular sellers.
Yeah, sure.
I'll let you choose. I don't know what I'm actually looking at the website. We can kind of ping pong a little bit back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, I think I already touched on Dark Carnival a little bit. I would say that's probably the number one most consistent seller overall. I think it's picking up a lot more steam now that people are becoming more aware of it. Because it is a high-dose epiandro product. It's very practical, and for the price, it's the best active compound to, the money that you're dishing out available, 300 milligrams per capsule, and then 10 milligrams of the biopurine black pepper extract. So that'll help with the bioavailability, because that's also an issue with ingesting epiandro, is that a lot of it doesn't make it through the digestive process. That's why you need the higher dose. And by having the black pepper extract to help escort that through the system, you get a little bit better uptake that way. And then also eating it with a healthy fat source, like maybe with some fish oil or almonds or something, that should help with the uptake as well.
Gotcha. So
then,
what else is a good seller for you guys?
Necrosis, definitely Necrosis. This is a cool product because it's, and I get a little bit of heat for it because I call it a non-stimulant fat burner, but it does contain octopamine in it, which is a kind of a relative of norepinephrine, but it doesn't bind that well in vertebrae, so we don't really get a stimulatory sort of response from it. But it does help with fat release. But the main ingredient, and I think the reason why it's so popular, is the T2, which is like the thyroid metabolite.
Okay.
That's what makes it probably the most effective. And the reason why it got so popular originally is because I do a little bit of graphic design work for Boston Lloyd and his 3cc stuff. And then he wanted to try it out. So he's using my necrosis as his T2 like thyroid supplement product. So once he like shouted that out, it pretty much became a heavy seller after that. And then just, the success of the product carried itself after that. People will just keep rebuying it because they enjoy it.
I find it interesting that you're using octopamine in this and also in your pre-workout, because I know that seems to be a I'm gonna say ingredient, I guess, that seems to be losing traction maybe, because I know it's kind of a banned substance on a lot, maybe at the WADA levels and some of the other levels, but it's interesting that you're using it.
The pre-workout one is Octadrene.
That's what I'm thinking of. I'm different. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Yeah, no, Octadrene, also known as DMAHA, that's probably what most people recognize it as. It's kind of one of those gray area supplements right now, and since I'm a smaller brand, I kind of use the larger brands as my way of gauging where the market is as far as being safe to sell it still. Yeah. And since DMHA is still kind of being incorporated in a lot of bigger brands pre-workouts, and it's, a very effective stimulant for people who like high stimulant products, I decided to kind of still keep that as part of it because honestly, the demand for it is pretty high, so I, give the people what they want.
Yep. So here's a question. I want to flip back to the necrosis for a minute. I've tried T2 type burners in the past, and I hear some people say they actually feel a very light temperature increase, and sometimes they don't. I mean, is that an effect of yours, or how do you know that maybe it's working for you aside from diet and exercise and what the scale's telling you?
Yeah, honestly, myself, I think I've been on it too long. I don't think I've come off of it in like the last year. I take 3 caps a day, but on my forum, some of the feedback is what you said. You might get like a little bit of a temperature increase, but it's not really a product that you're going to necessarily feel right away. It's kind of like a GDA in the sense that it's something that you're going to benefit from over the long term. It's something that you're going to want to take, over, 4 to 8 weeks if you're, dieting down. It's something that's going to help get you quicker results, but it's not going to do the work for you. So, I mean, if you're still in a calorie surplus and you're taking this product, you might not get as fat, but it's not going to burn fat for you if you're still in a calorie surplus. If you're at a recomposition or maintenance calories, it can definitely tighten you up while trying to kind of keep the muscle on. And then, of course, in cutting, it's just going to accelerate that much faster.
Now, Zoo, if someone is trying a T2 type product, whether it's yours or someone else's, and for you it's 3 capsules over a 24-hour period, let's say they do it for the 8 to 12 weeks as you mentioned, do they want to cease immediately, or do they now want to go in reverse and go to 2 capsules then 1 capsule, kind of go up and then back down again?
I always like to use a tapering method. I like to recommend that definitely. Is it necessary? Probably not. T2 isn't like, T3. It's, dosed at like 200 micrograms. It's very, very small amounts. So it's not that dramatic of effect on either the fat burning metabolism process, and then so you can come off of it pretty safely. But still, I don't think there's any reason not to taper off. I think it's better just to be on the safe side and just, like you said, if you're doing the 3 capsules, go down to 2 capsules for a few days, then go down to 1 capsule for a few days, and then just come off altogether for a period.
But again, you in your best judgment, you suggest at least maybe 8 to 12 weeks to give it a try.
I think 2 months is a very fair period. At 12 weeks, I would consider like the top out point. So, like you said, 8 to 12 is probably a good run. So I would at least give it like a 2-month period while you're monitoring your diet, of course.
Of course, and to beat a dead horse here again, folks, with any type of thermogenics, fat burners, T2, whatever you want to say, it's not a cure-all. If you're not changing your diet, if you're not doing cardio, if you're not increasing your activity, they're not going to work. You got to have all 3 in check.
Exactly.
But what else do you want to cover here? Because again, you've got I guess I'm going to go off path here for a minute. I love your labels. So did you say you're actually designing the labels?
Yeah, actually, I do all the design work. So a lot of this is influenced by kind of like a little bit of a nostalgia factory for me. So a lot of the label work, it's kind of inspired because I had an interest in like trading cards as a kid, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that. So a lot of that, I've incorporated those elements into the card itself. So if you see, I have like the little logo in the upper right-hand corner that has like the skull or the crescent moon. Those are based on like the element symbols that like in Magic the Gathering, for example, like each monster would be categorized as, death or, whatever their element was. So I kind of incorporated that. And then I also give like the product like a little description on the left-hand side of the label, just like a little bit of like a faux story about how it came about. It's totally fictional, of course. I'm not actually like doing black magic over here. But I just really enjoyed that kind of stuff as a kid. So when I started designing all this stuff, I just wanted to incorporate some of those elements. It's, I don't know if it really appeals to that many other people, but for me, it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to keep doing it.
So are you a little bit of a horror fiend as well? Are you a horror movie type guy?
Yeah, I mean, I like horror. I don't really care for gore. I more prefer like suspense type horror. I'm not really into necessarily, even though I'm title myself as the Bloodlord, I'm not really into gore and killing and stuff like that necessarily. It's just that's actually more related to my interest in Warhammer. So.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the actual Bloodlord, is that a cartoon of yourself?
Yes. I was a little generous with the musculature there, but maybe eventually. But yeah, it's actually based on my myself a little bit there. The actual model though is kind of cool. I got a silhouette cut out from it's an anime called Hunter x Hunter. Sorry.
Okay.
It's that's like one of the monsters that was in there, and they had a very like prominent musculature. So I was like, oh, that's a really cool anime. So I wanted to kind of have that character put into the label, and then I stylized it and detailed it after myself.
So is the tattoo, because I've seen a picture of you personally, is the tattoo something symbolic, or is that just kind of something cool you did yourself?
On the left-hand side?
Yeah, your shoulder tattoo.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's actually not a tattoo. That's scarification.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So what that is basically is I kind of have, a body mod artist. She's really good. She's based out in Orange County. I'll kind of give her an idea of what I'm looking for, and she'll kind of, draw it out with a marker like a tattoo artist would. But what she does is she'll take like a very sharp utensil and she'll cut the outline of it, and then she'll go back and then she'll kind of fillet the inside of the cuts out. So it scars out into a specific design.
Damn, dude, what's your paint threshold like?
It depends on my mood, I guess. Yeah, it's a pretty intense process, but it's kind of hard to explain. But I like it a lot more than the idea of tattoos, because it's a really like natural sort of art. You're literally using your body's response mechanism to create something. I guess some people would consider aesthetic or beautiful, which is kind of reminiscent of the idea of bodybuilding. We put ourselves through this immense, pain and duress, so that way we can create something in the end that, although it might have been difficult to do during the time, the end result's something that you can really look back and be like, man, that's really cool. I'm glad I did that. Is
it just the one that's over your delt and you're kind of going up your neck, or do you have something elsewhere?
On the back of my neck, I also have a downward-facing spider cut out.
Okay.
And what that resembles is I have a pretty big fear of spiders, arachnids, things with more than 4 limbs, basically.
Okay.
So the idea is that the spider is leaving my mind, which is basically saying that that's fear leaving my mind. So it's facing away from my head, so it's basically leaving, my fear behind. And then I also have kind of on the back of where my right shoulder blade is, on my lat area, I have the Mark of Chaos, which is kind of like a spiky star compass design, and that's also from the Warhammer universe. It's they become like endowed by the powers of chaos, but at the expense of kind of losing themselves and having to make personal sacrifices to achieve like a power, essentially. Yeah, a little bit nerdy stuff, but I don't know. I think it's a really cool backstory. So if there's any 40K fans out there, shout out to them.
It's interesting because again, I've seen your pictures on Facebook, and you're a pretty big dude. I'm not just saying that stroking your ego. You're a pretty big dude, but then when you peel back the layers, you wouldn't expect what you see visually to what you kind of do or have done in the past versus again just the gaming and that kind of stuff. It's very polar opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely something that I developed over time. I was always a fat, nerdy kid. I had the rolling backpack in middle school. I was heavily overweight. I was always trying to hide my chest because I had really bad gyno from puberty, and that's actually what prompted me to start bench pressing. I thought that, doing that, I would be able to, get like a nicer looking chest because, I mean, let's face it, kids are dicks. So I was kind of tired of getting made fun of all the time, and throw the Yu-Gi-Oh cards on top of that. That's pretty bad. So that kind of got me going on working out, and eventually I really just started enjoying it. I remember the first time I kind of just did it to lose weight. Essentially, at first I didn't really care about muscle, but I remember the first time I looked in the mirror and I kind of like flexed my arm, and I had like, when you see that bicep peak for the first time, you get all excited. You're like, holy crap, I'm actually getting muscle. I think that's when things started kicking off, and I was like, oh man, I really need to, I'm really into this now.
So now, what made you do your first show? Was it you personally, or did you get all your friends putting a bug in your ear?
No, I wanted to do it myself. It was more of a personal challenge thing. I never have been really lean, shredded. I never have had abs up until I decided to do the show. I basically just needed to prove to myself that I'm capable. If I really want to and I apply myself, I'm actually going to be able to achieve, a physique that I consider desirable. I kind of reached a point where I saw myself just dicking around too much. Like I mentioned earlier, I had a really garbage diet for a long time. I just kind of wanted to get big and muscular. I didn't really have any idea of what I was doing. And so it was really neat because this isn't that long after I started doing a little bit of work for Boston. He offered to, do my diet for me. And I mean, I know people have their opinion of him, and it's a little mixed, but honestly, the guy's really, really cool. He's super, super awesome. He never charged me. He's very competent in diet and drugs. He really gave me an excellent layout, and I'm really appreciative of that. And, with his help and, me just kind of being determined, I was able to get in there and get ripped. I mean, I got like third out of 6 people or something like that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but it was just so cool at the end of that. Like at first, I won't lie, I was really hoping to win. I was super bummed, but then I looked at myself and was like, man, you've never done that before. You've never gotten in shape before. So right now I plan on doing another show July 4th. This time I'll probably end up doing the bodybuilding category because I've been putting a lot more muscle on this year.
So what, in a real world, what would you think, I know it's probably a wrong question to ask, what do you think you'd compete at in bodybuilding?
What I need to compete at would be over 260 for sure because I stand about 6'1",
okay.
and I have scoliosis and kyphosis, so I lose about 2 to 3 inches on my height. So I have ridiculously long limbs. So I need, for an actual like NPC level bodybuilding, I would probably need to be about 260 or more at least because of my height. For this year, I'm hoping that I'll be able to be about stage ready around like 220.
Yeah,
like I said, this is the first year that I've been able to make like really decent gains. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to have about 20 pounds of stage weight by the time July 4th rolls around.
But now, why bodybuilding? Do you think it'd be too big for physique?
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of why I lost the physique show the first time. Is because if that was kind of the difference is I noticed is that I had at least, especially like my back, like my traps and my shoulders, they were much larger and dramatic than the other guys that were there. And I think for the Venice, because it was the show that they did on Venice Beach, they're not like NPC and sort of level physique that they're looking for. They're looking more for what would probably be, a pretty decent built guy just kind of hanging out at the beach, not so much a bodybuilder guy, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the actual physique competitors that, compete at the Olympia level, I mean, shoot, some of them, are, pretty jacked, so.
Now when you did your physique, your first physique, and obviously bodybuilding is a whole different thing, which was harder? Was it the dieting? Was it the training? Or just getting over your stage of fear or your, so I guess being on stage?
I got to admit, I was definitely extremely nervous to get out in front of people because I've never been, being the fat kid, I never wanted to take my shirt off in front of people. So this was a complete, 180 from that. I was definitely nervous to get up there. I thought physique, and I was correct, it would be a little bit easier because there isn't really any posing.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just stand there and try to look pretty. So that made it a lot less stressful. But so the bodybuilding show, I think I'll be a lot more concerned because I'll need to have a decent posing routine and, a physique to match. My legs, I've been desperately trying to get them to catch up to my upper body. So, I don't want to go up there looking totally out of proportion.
Dude, I hope I'm not going to get in your head too much, but for me, when I trained back in the day, the diet and the training came easy. It was getting up on stage in my freaking underwear. At least for physique, you've got a bathing suit on.
Yes.
Believe me, this is going to be a little bit of a different demographic, my friend, and not to scare you or fuck with your head.
No, I've been thinking about the Speedo, man, and it doesn't look that appealing, to be honest, but, maybe if I'm jacked enough, I won't feel too bad about it.
Oh my God! So what is your background? I mean, I know you mentioned something about HR earlier, but what is your background?
Okay, yeah. So my first job, it was kind of a part-time thing. That's my mom's work did. Basically, it would hire the employees, kids that were going to college as part-time employees, and this place is called Inland Regional Center. And what they do is they provide services for the developmentally disabled. That's kind of what the agency, there's a few of them throughout California. So I did that for a few years while I was going through college. I had moved at one point to Apple Valley, which, it's kind of barren up there. But I was doing warehouse work there for a few months. And after I got my degree, I was able to get in at Institute for Behavioral Health, which is an autism agency out here near where I live in San Bernardino. And they provide services to children with autism. So I didn't actually go do any of the autism therapy stuff myself. Since I had my degree in HR, I was kind of working in the office most of the time. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience for sure. Eventually, though, I just the office life, I couldn't do it anymore. Just sitting there all day in a little cubicle and just, picking up your phone, typing on the computer, it just got old. And eventually I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a gamble here. I had been working on Vicious Labs for a couple of years. I did it more as a hobby. Yep. But, I decided I'm going to go ahead and quit my day job, which is funny because I had just gotten a really big raise and a big promotion just like a couple months before. And I just was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I was like, I can either, live with the regret of never trying it or giving it a shot. Hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, I tried.
That's it. That's my motto. I have all the respect in the world of someone that tries their own business. I mean, in the real world, yes, succeed. But if you failed, at least you had the balls to try it. And I have the utmost respect for anybody in life that does that.
Yeah, and I really want to encourage people to take, a little more gamble in life. I mean, we only get one shot at this. I mean, at some point we're all going to go, and we don't know when that is. I mean, I just, I just kind of wanted to have, made something significant by the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Zoo, what's next for the company? I don't know if you have other products that you have in mind that are coming to fruition, or what's maybe the next year going to hold for the company?
I think the next year is going to be more just trying to get Vicious Labs out there. I feel like at the moment I have a really good product lineup, and I'll probably keep it where it is for the moment. I'm always interested in making new products, but I am a pretty small company, so I have to keep my inventory a little bit limited,
Sure.
Just for, logistics. I can't have too much inventory sitting idly. But yeah, so I definitely want to get the brand out there. So, I mean, honestly, being able to do a podcast with you is kind of my kickoff, I guess, in a sense, because I don't really market the brand or myself too heavily. I'm a little bit of a recluse in that sense, but this year I'm going to, really get myself out there, get Vicious Labs out there. I'm grinding really hard in the gym right now. I'm going to get in really good shape, and I feel that's really important for anyone that's, trying to sell supplements or start a supplement company or give advice is you need to be the part. You can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. You know what I mean? And people aren't going to respect or take me seriously if I'm not able to practice what I preach, and I'm trying to create something that's, part of bodybuilding, and, I got to be a bodybuilder to do that.
Well, and that's a great aspect, and not to diminish the industry in general, but there's a lot of people I know that open up their companies because they see how big the supplement pool is, and it's always that joke of, do you lift, bro? You know, it's like you've got this company you're going out with, but do you lift at all, or do you just sit and play Dungeons and Dragons all day?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think where that comes in is that those aren't fans of bodybuilding. Those are fans of business. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a business guy. I'm just like a forum bro that I had an idea and it was just like, shit, maybe I can pull this off, and luckily I have a really good following of, really, really cool guys, and, with their support I've been able to get where I am right now. So, I mean, I'm all about bodybuilding. I love it. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's a really cool sport. I think it's really good for people to do. The regiment, the lifestyle, it's really helped me, like, in a lot of ways, not just, physically, but, mentally as well. It's, gotten me through some shit, and it's just, it's a really good pursuit, honestly.
Yeah, no, and I get it. And the big thing too with a lot of your products is they're different. I'm finding that there's the industry in general, and I was talking about this on one of the Instagram groups that I'm in, that there's not a lot of originality right now. Everybody, and I hate to say this, but a lot of people are coming out with the same type of pre-workouts that have the same ingredients in them, the top 5 things. And granted, yes, some of your products do have some of those ingredients, but you also have some other things in there, like I saw some ancient peat and greens or something along those lines. You've got some You're using mushrooms, just a lot of different cool shit that obviously it intrigues me because I have to look this stuff up, and I'm like, okay, something new and exciting.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think that kind of ties in back to like the business model. The reason why those types of products are so prominent is because it's really inexpensive to make. As a smaller company, like, sure, I have some, interest in financial aspects, but really I'm just trying to create a product that I'm going to want to use. I use all my own stuff, and most of the stuff I kind of developed based on, what I tried, liked, and saw a need for. Everyone has a protein powder. Everyone has a basic pre-workout, but I wanted, and, a lot of the fat burners, they're just, loaded up with caffeine and junk. You get jittery, but like for long-term fat loss, that's not even good for you. You're going to start going backwards at some point. So I wanted to create practical products that, just about everyone can use. Of course, the women don't want to use dark carnival because it's going to convert to DHT. So stuff like that does have a little bit more limitation, but I just want to create, a good, solid quality product lineup where you only needed to get one bottle to get, a 1 month supply. I don't really like the idea when they sell 15 serving type products. It's like, who only goes to the gym 15 times in a month? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Shoot. So yeah.
As things wind down here, I've really enjoyed the conversation, and you're such a super down-to-earth guy. Anything else that you want to let the listeners know, maybe we haven't touched on, whether it's, shows or ambassadors, anything? The floor is yours, my friend.
I just kind of want to say thanks to all the guys on the forum. There's a lot, but I'll give, a few shout outs to them. I only know them or will say them by their username, like Big Bumpkin, LGT, A1A. That's actually one of my reps. He's a really cool guy, and he's getting ready for a powerlifting meet soon. So hopefully he comes out and reps Vicious Labs proud. It's Tom Saul. He's a really strong bastard. I'm jealous of his squat for sure. White Sting, lift. Man, there's too many guys. Evo guy. So just a few of the guys that I talked to on the forum. I just want to say hey to them and, let everyone know on the forum, even if I didn't say their user, just let them know I appreciate them. I don't get on there as much as I used to and talk it up, but, I get in there, I scan things, and, I just really appreciate that. I've had these guys around for a long time, and that's hard to do, trying to get, a loyal following. There's so many brands out there. They could pick any of them, but, they decide to stick around, and they support me heavily.
And I hope you don't get flack now, because there's someone that's going to come up listening to this and go, dude, what the fuck? You didn't give me a name drop.
Maybe if I come back on the show at a later point, I can get all the guys I missed.
Oh, no, definitely. Zoo, let everybody know, plug your Instagrams, your Facebook, your website, let everybody know where to learn about you.
Yeah. So the website is viciousLabs.net. You can use code BloodLord one word, BLOODLORD for 10% off everything. And definitely plug some coupon codes there. Instagram is at Vicious Labs, and then my personal Instagram is at Zoo the Bloodlord, and that's Zoo period the period blood period Lord. So if anyone gives me a follow, definitely hit that like button, and I'll start posting some content here pretty soon. I've been pretty bad about it, but I'll get on it.
Zoo, as we wind down, I do want to ask, where did Zoo the Bloodlord come from?
Okay, so originally my username was Zoolander, because my name's Derek, and then the movie.
Oh God,
Derek Zoolander, so, right? Yeah, no, it's all good. So I went with Zoolander, but no one's gonna type that out every time, so everyone just called me Zoo. So eventually I changed my name to my username to Zoo, and then I had Vicious Labs, and I was kind of joking, and I put myself like, where it says that you're like a veteran member or new member or whatever underneath your username. Well, I could actually change that to whatever I wanted, so I put Bloodlord, just to kind of, over, the Lord of Vicious Labs or whatever. Yep. And that's actually like that's a 40K reference to, the god of blood and war. So anyways, but on my new form, the form that I created, I can't actually. I don't have that feature where it says senior member. I can't change that. Okay. So I made my whole username Zoo the Bloodlord, and then that's why it's Zoo the Bloodlord now.
So speaking of your forum, is that just a direct link somewhere in the Vicious Labs website? Yeah, there's actually a link on there under the Vicious Labs tab. If you hit the little scroll down button, you'll see Vicious Forum. Okay. But it's also viciousforum.com. If anyone wants to sign up, go ahead and sign up. I activate the accounts every couple of days. I go through and I check everyone who comes in with a new member registration, just to make sure that it's not like bots or spammers or anything. I had a really big issue with like Russian bots and Chinese bots, and they kept trying to make accounts. Yeah, so there's a security question on there, so that kind of has resolved the issue a little bit for the time. Zoo, I'm going to go out on a limb here, just learning from our conversation. If people join your forum, it's probably not going to be a typical roses and unicorns type forum, is it?
No, definitely not. It's a little bit. I don't want to call it a hardcore forum, but a lot of a little bit. I mean, a lot of the guys on there, anabolic users, so it's not just like pro hormones. There's guys dropping their trend cycles and stuff. There's a lot of the talks anabolic. I would like to get more supplement talk on there, since I'm a supplement company. Yep. But let's face it, there's a lot of interest in drugs and performance enhancers, and understandably so, they're really cool things. But so if there's anyone out there that might have questions about anabolics or designers or whatever, you can definitely hop on the forum. There's a lot of guys with experience, but please do your homework before you come in. Don't come in just asking really ridiculous questions. Have an idea of what anabolics are, understand what aromatase inhibitors are, things like that, and then we can piece together the rest if you need some help there.
Yeah, do your research, because the last thing you want to do is be abused on your very first post. Yeah,
and I definitely encourage people not to flame newer members, but I mean some of the questions deserve it. So
you can't avoid it. I mean, I'm on enough forums myself that you just kind of either bite your tongue, shape, you just kind of slap your head, or you just burn them and get out.
Yeah. It's rough sometimes, but it's not too bad. The forum's a bunch of really cool guys, so rarely do you see any arguing on there. Everyone's real chill with each other, and that's kind of the only rule. There's not a whole lot other than just respect everyone and just play nice.
Perfect. Well, Zoo, it's been a great conversation. I'm going to let you get on to your day, but as you mentioned earlier, yes, I would definitely love to get you back on the show in a couple of months, whether it's new products, development, talk about how your training's going. But again, folks, make sure you visit him at viciousLabs.net, not .com, .net. And again, as always, we appreciate you hitting that download button. Subscribe to us all over our platforms. And if there's any guests, questions whatsoever, please feel free to email me directly at SuppTalk1@gmail.com. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the week.
All right, thank you.
People in this world search endlessly for some complex, magical formula to understand why some people are successful and why others are not. But it really just boils down to this concept of productivity. That you're going to apply the most amount of effort to the best of your ability in the allotted time that you have. And all successful people realize that time is the most precious commodity that's out there. It's the one thing that you can't buy or ever buy back. So these successful people realize that they have an allotted time to perform a given task, so that they have to give it their absolute all to doing that task. Because going through the motions is the most disadvantageous thing that you can do. That often when you do something wrong the first time, you have to go back and do it right the second time. Whereas if you did it right the first time, you never have to do it again. And all successful people realize that they're going to give it their absolute all and put in their heart and soul to any task that they do, no matter how small or how large it is. That they're going to be the best person that they could be while they're doing it. That they're going to do it right. And the major difference is that the successful people do every single task right, whereas the people who are not successful do it wrong. You know, you could look at these professional bodybuilders. Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, Dexter Jackson, Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Dorian Yates, Arnold Schwarzenegger. These guys are the best in their sport. And a lot of people just disregard it as they had the genetics to be there, or they'll play the steroid card and say that they cheated to get to where they were. But what a lot of people don't realize is that these people gave it their heart and their soul throughout every single rep, throughout every single set, throughout every single gym session, every single day, for weeks, for months, for years, for decades, to get to where they were. That they weren't just going to go through the motions, but they were going to break through all mental barriers to get to where they wanted to be. And that's the difference between the successful people from those who are not. You know, a lot of people think that what they do in life is beneficial, and then they get frustrated when they don't see the results that they want, that other people are getting. You know, you could say to yourself, oh, I went to the gym today, so I'm better off because of it. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what did I do in the gym today? You know, what did you do in the gym today, and how did you do it? You could complain that you can't build up your calf muscles, or you can't get a nice set of abs, or you can't burn fat, or you can't build muscle, and it's your genetics that is preventing you from getting there. But it's really not about the genetics as much as it is about the effort and about doing the activity right. And this transfers throughout all facets of life, whether it is working on your schoolwork, or whether it is working on that business proposal at your job, you know, or it's even the small things in life, like cleaning dishes or cleaning the house. Because if you can't clean the house right, how are you expected to run a Fortune 500 company right? And all successful people understand that they're going to give it their all throughout every single task that they have to do, because time is so precious, and that they're going to do it right. So I hope you understand this concept of productivity a little bit better. And you need to ask yourself, what are you going to do today? But more importantly, you need to ask yourself, how are you going to do it?